Remembering people's names, so important, right? If you want to make a positive impression, make people feel appreciated, it really helps to remember people's name. You might say, yeah, the name comes and then, it goes away again. Well, I'm going to share some ideas that might help you to remember names better. Some things I learned from Jim Kwik, I guess. Hopefully I can remember some of those. Who's a memory expert, and just what I'm doing, some mindset here, because if you appreciate people and remembering names, it's not because you have to do it, right? It's just you appreciating another person by making the effort to remember their name, right? Or like eye contact, you make the effort to connect with someone. You're present with them. So I think remembering names is very important. Of course, if you put pressure on yourself, you're like, now I have to remember all the names, and you make pressure, that doesn't help you, right? Like then, for me, when I do that, like I've had it, I didn't remember a single name from a lot of people that I meet. So I'm just gonna share a few things that help me. So one, I have like a running file, like some places that I go to more often. There's always the same kinds of people there, and in the beginning, I tried to remember everyone's name, right? But especially if that's not something, you don't see these people every day, and that makes it a lot easier to remember their names. But you see them, let's say, once a week, once every 2 weeks, makes it a bit harder. And each person, they might not even go there every time. They might not be there every time. So you see them 1 week and the next week they're not there. So your mental loop, they call that spaced interval learning, like spaced repetition in language learning and other things. So if you don't have that space, if it's a too long period where you're not learning anything, you're not repeating that information, you're not, wow, that car drove by very close to me, I really don't like that, But if you have an interval and you don't use that interval, then you're gonna lose that information. And also there is this thing, you have active recall and you have a passive recall. A passive recall is when you read information, you just read it. You look at it like you study for a test, you're like, okay, point 1, point 2, point 3, right? You just read it. That's passive. And our brain, and funnily enough, like all things we learn in life, if we make an effort, if we like trying to do something, of course not for everything, right? You can say if you have flow states, if children are learning, they're having fun, in flow there's also effort involved, but it doesn't feel like effort, right? Effort is still there. But if you're making an effort, if your brain, if you're like a CD, like there's the reading head, the laser. When we had CDs, no more CDs now, but there's the head, it goes and it tries to read the information on the disk. And that's what active recall is like. You're like going to your disk, you're like asking, what is this person's name, right? You have a face, you remember something, and you're like, what's this person's name? What's this fact, You're actively accessing that information, and boom, your brain lights up. It's like, oh, this is really important because he or she is trying to access that information, so it must be important. So apparently that does something in our brain that makes us more likely to remember that information. While I was spitting at my hand, talking, the passion about memory, because it's a meta skill, right? Memory is a meta skill. Learning, somebody wrote that on Twitter today. I like that tweet. Learning is a meta skill. It's so important in all areas of our life. If we can learn better and faster, we can get ahead in so many areas of our life. And that's a very complex subject. You can say, okay, how can I learn faster? How can I be more social? And there's many bits and pieces there. A huge one I have found is nervous system regulation. So let's say you're like a car, right? You want to do something, you want to remember names. Going back to my topic here of this video, you want to study some information. you want to perform a certain skill, right? You need, let's imagine you're a car, you need that car to run smoothly. Otherwise, you can't drive it. Your body, your mind is the same. If your system is out of whack, you're sitting on the couch all the time, your sleep is shit, you are depressed because you have no goals in life. There's many bits and pieces, right? But finding ways and activities that stabilize and strengthen your system. And now you're like, okay, some people like this, other people like that. That's true, but there are some evergreen things like healthy, whole food, drinking enough water, sleeping, exercise, sunlight. These are things that we all need. Human contact, unless you're a monk. Even monks, they have social contact with other monks. And they do a lot of meditation. It's different when you meditate a lot. I had a few years where I was meditating 7 hours a day. For one whole year, another year, I was meditating 5 hours a day. It's different when you do that, when you have that much time meditating, you get a different baseline. You have no need for other stuff. Your brain is kind of in a flow state anyways. You're very calm. But yeah, most people don't have that. The TV is not a replacement. Scrolling Twitter is not a replacement for meditation, right? Not the Twitter meditation. But you want the system to run smoothly. Nervous system regulation, goals, If you want to drive somewhere with your car, you need a goal. So there's many, many pieces there. But if that's overwhelming to you, I'd say the simplest way to understand that, if you want to become a more effective system, like there is psycho-cybernetics. Like we set a goal and then we adapt our behavior until we reach that goal. Like that's the human brain in action. And the simplest way is to get clear on what you don't want. Dan Coe talks about this. Get clear on what you don't want, get clear on what you want, and then start to assess the things that you're doing in your life, in your day-to-day life, and you will see it's either a plus or it's a minus. Things you're doing, and you will know this, you will feel this. When you have a goal, like if you have no goal and you play video games, you're like, yeah, fuck, I'm bored, I want to be entertained. Video game is positive. Your goal is to be entertained. If you want to build your life, if you want to create something positive in your life, have an impact, legacy, whatever, build something for your children, you have some goal, something you want to contribute. You just want to be happy, like sustainable happiness in your life. Suddenly it shifts. So now you're like, okay, there's the video game. It's entertaining, but my goal is not primarily, of course, we all want to be entertained, but my goal is a great light effects for free today. Crazy. Your goal in that case is not to be entertained primarily, but your main goal is achieving whatever you set out to do. Like you want to build a business, boom, right? Immediately you'll know when you're playing too much, because you will feel this, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's a feeling of misalignment. You're like, shit, I shouldn't be doing this. I know what I should be doing. And then it's just course correcting your behavior, finding ways to do more of what's good for you, what's a plus, and less of those things that are a minus, that are harming you, that are not helping you to achieve whatever goal you've set out to achieve. And then you're course correcting until your behavior matches what you actually want to achieve in your life. And it's a process. You're not going to be super perfect immediately with that. So you're going to have some habits that are harder to shake. You want to adapt some new habits and it's very tedious. They don't stick. You have to try it again and again. And I've worked for a long time with people on habits. There is no secret recipe. There is no, let's not get run over by a car. There is no secret magic formula. There's great books, there's Atomic Habits, there's Tiny Habits, some great principles, but there is no secret sauce. It is work, it's work to align your life with a goal and to achieve that goal. It's work. Let's face it, there is no, it's free. There's no effort, there's no pain. That's bullshit, that's a lie, doesn't work. Some people, they're like, yes, we'll manifest everything. How has that been working for you? Let's be honest, at some stages in life, maybe it works. Some people, they can do that. They have like a graceful way of flowing through the world. More power to them if that's something you want to learn. I think it's great. For me, it hasn't really worked in the way that I wanted it to work. I think it's more sustainable to build your behavior, your identity, and your habits to align with what you actually want to achieve in life, and then to course correct. It just works. It's physics. It's very simple. And it's work to do that, right? I don't believe in the magical solution, fairy tale manifestation. Maybe, if you talk to me in 10 years, I'm like, I finally did it. Here's the fairy tale thing, manifestation. It works. I was stupid 10 years ago. I was a young boy, a young man, right? Not that young anymore. Time is ticking away for all of us, no matter how old you are. Death is coming for all of us, no matter what age you are. Death is coming at some point, sooner or later. Natural death, unnatural death. What are you going to do with the time you have available today? Are you going to play games, just going to have fun, or are you going to set some goals that make you happy, that are rooted in some deeper values, that benefit others as well, not just yourself, right? So for remembering names, getting back to that, so one thing that I do is I keep a running file of the meetups I usually go to, like improv. I have a file, and when I meet someone, I'm like, hey, this is a cool person. I want to remember this person's name. To appreciate them, I write it in the file with a little reminder. Like why, what do I know about this person? What have they told me? Something memorable, something that they wore that I can remember in my mind, right? And then I do that. And I look at that, right? So I'll be careful that I look at this also in between now, because I just want to make an effort. And that's an identity thing. Do you want to be a person who's just, coasting through life? Do I just want to coast through life and, remember this person's name or not? Or do I want to be kind of, it's not professional, but I have this expectation, right? I want to be appreciative of people. I want to, maybe it's charismatic, that's important, influential, but I want to have a positive influence, and I want to take care of people, and I want to be responsible, I guess. So this is new. I didn't used to do that, but I'm realizing as I'm speaking about this now that it's very important for me. I want to do that. I want to be this kind of connector person that people know, and I love introducing people to each other. And oftentimes this person and another person, completely different social circles, but that they're probably gonna match. They have very similar interests, or there's some exchange that could happen between those people. And it's amazing when you can bring people together. Or today I met a person who's not that socially integrated yet here, moved here from another country, and I can offer them something. I can, chat with them, listen to them, and then say, hey, I know these cool things. You can do this here. It's really fun. You can meet people there, and just sharing that. And that's beautiful, because the city, while it's full of people, and people are everywhere, many of those people are very lonely. And I'm speaking from experience, right? You have all these people, but nobody talks to each other. It's fucked up. Let's be straight about this, right? All these small little circles of people, they don't interact so much with each other. And for some people, that's challenging, right? And I love helping them. I love opening doors for people, connecting people, encouraging people, basically creating opportunities. And the funny thing is, when you start creating opportunities for other people, you create opportunities for yourself, right? Because people notice, hey, this is a person that's giving value. They're contributing something here. They're doing something positive. I want to be around that person, because that's a cool energy. People gravitate towards that. So you're getting something by giving. It's not your main concern, right? But you're getting something as well. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to go through life, in my opinion, that is based on contribution and not on taking. So, and I think taking energy is disgusting. And women are disgusted by that, all people. If you're in a really needy energy, you're I need, and sometimes it's hard to switch out of that. I've had periods in my life, I can totally relate, but this is going to repel people. It's just, that's a fact. if you like it or you don't like it, you're like, fuck you, Lucas. Doesn't change that fact. If you have a desperate energy, if you have a taker energy, it is very detrimental for you in your life. And the problem is the energy stays. If you have a needy energy, even if you receive, even if you gain, you will still feel the need to gain more, the desperation, neediness, whatever you call it. Because it's a mental pattern. We get addicted to our mental patterns. Why not get addicted to a positive pattern of contribution, being happy when others are happy, sharing, giving something to other people? Like that's a good pattern to hook your brain to, up to, whatever you want to call it, right? So one thing is just writing down the names, making an effort to remember them, and having a reason why you want to do that. You want to be a connector, you want to be a person that networks, right? If you're an entrepreneur, extremely powerful. Like you have so many opportunities when you do that. It's not that hard, right? Just have to teach yourself to be open, to approach people, to connect people. You have shyness. I have a lot of shyness. A lot. I'm a very shy person. It's not easy for me to always do these videos, to chat to new people, to go to new places. I like sitting with a book. I like whatever, doing something on my own, on the internet. I don't have to go out. I'm safe, right? But I do it regardless because I have some goals that pull me in that direction, right? So, and I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing when you have some bigger vision. Maybe it's your business, right? Maybe you're really lonely. You're like, no, I want to be more social. Maybe it's contribution. You want to give to others. Maybe you want to start a family. I don't know what it is for you, right? But remembering names is very important. And writing, like I said, I write them down. I repeat them. I look at that. I think about that. And also if you say, no, I'm bad with names, like you keep repeating that like a mantra, like that's not good, you know? You're teaching yourself. You're making an affirmation that, no, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, until you start believing it, and then you actually can't do it. So that's not good to do that. Stop that if you're doing that. It's not a good excuse, you know. And yeah, just these two things. Basically, there's some more stuff you can, like there's memory techniques where you associate something with the person. When you meet them, you visualize something. For me, they are too complex to apply them when I'm actually in a social situation. So what I found, what works for me, is just picking the most important people that I had an emotional connection with, you know. Someone that I had a nice chat with, I like their energy, I want to appreciate them. And then I choose one or two people, I write those names down, and boom. You know, even if you remember just one name from whatever meeting you go to, but you actually internalize that name and you look at it before you go there again, you know. That's going to be helpful. That's going to be great. And each small step that you take is going to build that identity. It's going to build towards that goal. So whatever goals you choose, it's important. I mean, that you choose them, but also what goals you select, because it's going to shape your life. Doesn't seem like that at the start, maybe, right? Because our mind works in that way where we have that goal, we want to achieve something, then we kind of forget about it. I'm sure that has happened to you. And then a month or a half a year later, you're like, holy shit, this is the thing that I've written down, you know, that whatever job change I wanted to make, that thing I wanted to make happen in my life. And we're like surprised. Like I've had this happen to me. I'm like, wow, like I'm so surprised that this happened, right? I had almost forgotten about it. And our brain is like that. So be careful what you program yourself with and what's the vision of who you want to become and of where you want your life to go, because that's your conscious decision, and it might have a much bigger impact than you may think at the moment. So I'm going to leave you with that. Like I said, death is coming. We don't know when, for me, for you. Natural, unnatural. I mean, what's an unnatural death, right? But let's use the time wisely. Have a good evening. Take care and speak to you soon. Lots of love.